just done my little walk around this park. And I thought, yeah, I might as well do my live here instead of waiting until I get back home. So what I want to talk about is I made a few videos about this on my other social media, on my TikTok and my Instagram, and I thought this would be a good one to go live with. And it's called, what does healthy or good communication look like? So this is mostly related to relationships, spouse, intimate relationships, but it can also include communication in general. We have to learn to be good communicators. If we don't, we're going to lose out in life in so many ways. So anyone joining on the live stream, feel free to leave your comments, let me know what you think. This is something, obviously, as a counsellor and a coach that I'll have to work on. If my communication is poor, then people will not come to see me for counselling or coaching. Then I'll be kind of struggling to build rapport, sorry about all the noise, I can hear the ducks now, really loud. Hopefully you guys won't be able to hear all of that. So without good communication, our relationships will struggle. It's just a fact. In the top 3 reasons people come for couples counselling is poor communication. In the top reasons that relationships end, poor communication. Top issues with family issues, poor communication. Anything really related to a problem or an issue is usually down to communication. So I'm just going to give you some tips that I think highlight or illustrate what good communication looks like. And I'm so sorry for the wind. I just hope this isn't too bad that you can't hear everything I'm saying. So the first thing is, good communication means you have to respect each other enough to want to get to know each other and understand each other. Now that might seem simple enough, but how many times have you not been patient enough to understand what your partner is actually saying, to not understand what they mean? How many times have you jumped to conclusions, become defensive, said, I'm not listening to this, or tried to put your point across? If you really want to understand another person, you have to listen to them, you have to hear them. Maybe it means asking more questions, what did you mean when you said that? Or I'm hearing you say this, is that correct? It's not saying you have to use counsellor language or you have to be completely empathic, but if you're someone that isn't willing to understand the other person's point of view, then your communication is never going to be good, because you're always going to be on the defensive. You're always going to be trying to put your point across. You're never going to get them or understand them. And that's what a lot of people, when they come to counselling, say. They say, he doesn't get me or she doesn't understand me. But is it that you're just not giving each other enough time or enough of a chance to understand each other? So that's the first one. The next one is to express your needs clearly, not being afraid to ask for what you want, but also the second part to it, and thanks for joining everyone that's joining, is you asking your partner to express what they need. We're not mind readers, but I think people are in relationships and they're thinking, well, you've been with me long enough to know that I don't like this, or, how come you didn't guess this? And it's not fair. It's not fair on a partner to ask them to guess what you need. But it's also about confidence, being able to ask for what you need. Now, I'm someone that is very clear in my relationships. If someone isn't doing something that I like, I want to give them the chance to know that, because what's the point of me staying silent if someone isn't doing something that I want them to do and expect them to work that out? I'm quite good at using certain tone of voice, certain language that isn't confrontational, but I will always clearly state what I need. If I need someone to communicate in a different way, if I need more of this or more of that, I will say it. It doesn't mean the person has to do it. It just means you're expressing what you need, and that is good communication. If you're someone that is unable to express what you need, then work on that. But don't the amount of people I know in relationships who there's misunderstandings just because they think that their partner should know something. They're not willing or feel fearful of saying what they need. And then there's just this miscommunication that occurs, and it can easily be resolved. So it's about, the second point is expressing what you need clearly, without thinking what the consequences might be, without thinking that means because you've asked for something that you're going to receive that, but it's more for you. You're saying that this is what I need. I'm an adult, I'm a mature person, so my communication style is to be clear and ask for what I need. And then also to encourage your partner to say what they need. Maybe it could just be saying, babe, hi, Caden, thanks for joining. By saying to your partner, what is it that you need? Or is there anything that's, I'm not giving you in this relationship? Or is there anything more that you think we need as a couple, or this relationship needs? It's about being open and healthy and not having fear of saying what you need. So the third part is boundaries. So this is I've made loads of videos about boundaries, and this is a whole thing in itself. People think for some reason that setting a boundary in your relationship means that you're either going to lose the person because you're going to come on too strong, or you feel that it means that you're being too pushy, or some people feel that it means that you're asking for too much, or that your partner's not going to respect the boundary. No matter what the reasons are for you not setting a boundary, boundaries are necessary in every relationship. Parent and child relationship, boundaries. Parents are the same. I worked as a social worker for 22 years. Even simple things like setting boundaries for children can be very fearful. Parents can be fearful that, oh, my child won't love me if I say that they have to go to bed at this time. Oh, my child won't, we won't have a good relationship if I've set boundaries about them doing their homework. Children need boundaries, adults need boundaries, because otherwise they're going to keep stepping the mark and they're not going to know that they're doing that. So setting a boundary is for you and it's for the other person, and in a relationship it's essential to set boundaries. Hi Dwayne, thanks for joining. So setting a boundary could be anything small. It could be something like, one of my boundaries is that if we agree to something and we make a promise to each other that we fulfill that. So if you say you're going to meet me at 7 o'clock at this location, I expect you to be there, but if you're not there, I expect you to reach out to me and say you're not turning up. That is a simple boundary, but people can't even set that boundary sometimes. People will say, well, I'm just gonna sit there and wait. Another boundary might be a boundary of how you're treated. That's the biggest boundary you can set in a relationship. How someone treats you is normally as a reflection of what you're condoning or allowing, and that doesn't mean that you're to blame. You're not to blame if someone is disrespectful to you. That's their fault because they're being disrespectful. But what you do about it, that is definitely on you. Because the first time someone's disrespectful to you verbally or even physically, you do have a choice at that point to say, okay, well, what am I going to do about this? It doesn't mean that person's going to listen to you, but you still have a choice. However, so setting a boundary, my boundaries are quite clear in my relationships. Of every relationship I've been in, I will not tolerate being spoken to in a verbally abusive way, and I never have. If we're angry and we say things to each other which we regret afterwards, or we say maybe a few little things here and there, I'm not going to leave a relationship for that. But if someone is verbally abusive towards me, or tries to control me, or I've never been in a relationship where someone's been physical, but if someone was, I can categorically say that they've crossed that boundary, and that it doesn't matter how much I love them, it doesn't matter how much long I've been with them for, it doesn't matter what they say at that point to me. You've crossed that boundary, you've gone too far, I can't look at you in the same way, I don't feel safe in this relationship, I don't trust or that you respect me enough, so that's it. Now, I'm not saying everyone has to set a firm boundary as that. People might set a different type of boundary. So your boundary might be the first time we have an argument and they call you the B word, or they say nasty things to you, you might give them a warning. You might say, if you talk to me in that way again, the relationship's over. Same as with physical. Maybe you're married, you've got kids, you've been together a long time, there's never been any physical abuse, but they might shove you at some point. I've worked with loads of clients who've been in that situation. They're not going to end the marriage over 20 years because someone pushed them. Other people would, maybe they won't. They might set the boundary that says we cannot be physical with each other moving forward, and then that might be the boundary that they both stick to. So setting boundaries is for you, it's for the other person, it's necessary, and it's what good communication looks like. So the next thing is to develop emotional intelligence and self-awareness. So both are two different things, and I've made videos about developing emotional intelligence, and I'm sure I've made videos about self-awareness, self-validation, self-worth. So being self-aware means that's something you have to do. You have to work on your self-development. You have to work on your self-awareness. It's about you growing and understanding yourself, but understanding others as well. A self-aware person is not going to use mind games in relationships. A self-aware person is not going to intentionally trigger another person, play manipulation games, use emotional blackmail. So becoming self-aware means that you decide as a person that you're going to be aware of your emotions, aware of your actions, you're going to take accountability for what you do, and you're going to become the type of person you want to be. Sorry, there was a fly. Oh, there was a wasp. So the emotional intelligence part means that you've got enough awareness and that you're emotionally intelligent enough to understand that if your partner is crying or if your partner's upset, you're not just going to carry on your rant that you're going on in the middle of an argument. You're going to stop and you're going to think, oh, this has hit my partner in a particular way. Even though there's still things I could say, I think I'll leave it and I'll go and comfort my partner. Emotional intelligence means that you say, what is it that my partner needs? You know, what are our love languages? How do we communicate effectively? What is missing from our relationship? What do we need to work on? So it's having that emotional maturity and emotional intelligence level that you know is going to impact on both of you. You know, it's not just going to be positive for you, it's going to be positive for the whole relationship. And the final thing is you respond, you don't react. So it's about no drama, no games, no over-the-top reactions. You know, none of this, like, I mean, we've all been in relationships. I can say I've been in relationships where it's just been pure drama, pure stress. You know, that person's always moaning about something. You know, you never know where you stand with the person. It's the worst feeling in the world because you can't relax, you can't settle, because every time you're settled, every time things are going well, the person has something else to criticize. You think things are going well, the person is secretly hoarding, you know, all these like emotions, and then they just throw them at you. The opposite is when you're in a relationship where you can just relax, where you can just be in each other's company, and where you respond. So if someone does something that you don't like, instead of going, right, I'm going to throw all your clothes out the window, I've had enough, I'm leaving you, you know, and all this like really over the top, really child, immature like reactions, you sit down as an adult to adult, and you say, let's talk about this. You know, I'm upset. You express your feelings. You don't tell the other person, you're to blame, you're making me like this. Another thing that comes up a lot with clients I work with is they say, I'm not like this with anyone else, I'm only like this with you. Well, that's not like the point. It doesn't matter if you're like that with one person or you're like that with 10 people. It's not about then saying to that person, it's your fault. It's about you then recognizing, well, why is this person triggering you and all the other people are not? That means you can control it. That means you're in control of your reactions. So being someone that responds, and this occurs in all areas of life, if you can get to a point where you can respond and not react, you're going to be a happier person. It means that when things are going on around you, all the noise, distractions, people prodding and poking, you're not someone that's going to keep losing it. You're not someone that's going to keep reacting. You know, you can go on social media and you're reacting to what people say. You know, you can be walking down the street reacting to people. You can be in traffic reacting. What's the point in living life with just reactions, blowing up all the time? If you learn to respond, you will have a better life, you'll have a more peaceful life, and you'll have a calmer life. So those are my top tips for what good communication looks like. There's loads more to it, but I think those are some of the ones that I feel are quite easy to implement, really. So I'd like to thank Dwayne and Caden and everyone else that joined on this live stream. I really appreciate it. Hope you found it useful. If you have, leave a comment. Thanks for watching. Bye.